Hello, welcome back to the North Star Takes podcast with Jacob Luberta and Bailey Palicki. Today we're going to have our Sound Off segment. I can't wait for this one. Look forward to this one every week. So let's get right down to it. Bailey, what's your hot take this week?
Yeah, so my hot take is that the Minnesota Wild will trade for Jack Eichel.
That'd be a very marquee move.
My reasoning for it is with the reporting coming out this last week of Kirill Kaprizov, his agent's kind of posturing the Wild saying, well, if you don't give us the 3-year contract we want, and if you don't give us a top-line center, then we might just go back to Russia and play. I mean, who knows how legit of a threat that is, but it is a threat because he's back in Russia now for the offseason. He went back home. Mm-hmm. And so, who knows if you can get him to come back, if you don't give him what he wants. So, it might end up meaning you have to trade Kevin Fiala or trade an important asset. And I still think they should throw Matt Dumba in on a deal. I don't know how what other teams think of him at this point, but yeah, I think he's going to end up kind of forcing the Wild's hand here because he doesn't want to spend another season playing with a guy like Victor Rask, who
why should he?
Time after time would just blow opportunities after these incredible passes that Kaprizov would make, and he just couldn't finish in front of the net. He'd have awful turnovers. So I think it makes all the sense in the world for the Wild to do this. Keep Kaprizov happy. You're also bringing in another stud player. He does have an injury history that's kind of concerning, especially with a neck injury. But hopefully that they can get that all checked out as well. And, maybe it won't even be Jack Eichel, but I do think they're going to make a move for a center. So it would be exciting, and it would be a bummer if they had to trade Fiala to do it. But I think, whatever it takes to make Kaprizov happy, I think is going to be really important.
That's the number one priority. The Wild can absolutely not afford to let him slip away because that would just enrage this fan base like nobody's belief, honestly, because the thing is that we finally got a taste of it last year.
Yes.
It felt good. We played like a great team, honestly, and we can get better with an acquisition like Eichel. But the thing is, it could also fall apart. We don't make a move like that, and then maybe Kaprizov's unhappy and he goes back to Russia for some reason. So that would just be catastrophic. And boy, I don't know how you could look optimistic on the Wild anymore after that, at least for a little while here this next season for sure. But I like that. I'd really like Eichel, but obviously it sure comes at a price. But
yes,
I like that you're saying you're setting it in stone that they will trade for Jack Eichel.
You finally have your superstar player that the Wild have never had, and you just have to do whatever it takes to keep him happy. So
plus you have a killer first line, which would be pretty tight.
Which you need to compete with a team like Colorado, Vegas. You need that. You need a not top heavy, but you need a very good top line.
I guess the cream of the crop. Yeah, that's the only way you're gonna sustain success in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So.
Exactly. All right, Luberta, what's your hot take for the week?
This one, maybe it's not quite so much a hot take. Maybe it's hot take, maybe it's just from my perspective, but Ben Simmons is not worth D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley like Kendrick Perkins is, throwing around out there on Get Up. Oh my gosh, I really don't like his analysis more times than not.
Keep the Timberwolves out of your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. After watching Ben Simmons play in that Game 7 against the Hawks and really the whole series, and his inability to shoot is just more evident than ever, and he's just completely overrated.
Yes,
and I just don't think he's worth touching with a 10-foot pole. No. So I think we just got to hold our cards with Beasley and D-Law and not get involved in that kind of mess, because that would be an unacceptable move by this franchise, in my opinion. When a franchise that's made plenty of those over the years, but this would just be on the long list of them, and I'd just be so upset. I'd really question everything we're doing here if we're trading for Ben Simmons, another guy who can't shoot. We have a pass-first point guard like Rubio who can kind of fill that role. Obviously, Simmons is a different player because he's a lot bigger, and he's an elite defender, don't get me wrong. But the thing is, as far as what Simmons does well, I mean, Rubio kind of does too. So I'm good with just having Rubio. But
yeah, I agree. I think it wouldn't make sense based on what Gerson Rosas' vision has been for this team. All along, he's wanted to acquire that top point guard to play with Karl Anthony Towns. It just so happens to be one of his best friends. He finally got D'Angelo Russell.
Exactly.
He was able to get rid of Wiggins' contract in that trade. Remains to be seen if the Timberwolves will keep their pick or not from that trade. But it wouldn't make any sense to trade, a 3-point shooting point guard, and then you trade him for Ben Simmons, not to mention Malik Beasley as well, who's our best 3-point shooter on the team, and then trade him for Ben Simmons, who can't shoot at all. He can play point guard, but he's not like a true point guard. No. So then, you kind of you kind of would need a point guard again. And it's like you'd just be in this never-ending cycle.
It's
and he'd be the best defender on the team, and that's great. But it's not worth giving up 2 of your core pieces just to get him, a guy who's got some mental blocks at the free throw line. Like you can tell he has no confidence when he's at the free throw line. Like you said in that series against the Hawks, he's passing up dunks. Like he doesn't want to dunk the ball because he doesn't want to get fouled to go to the free throw line. Like you could not have that. So
no.
And I'm sure some other team would give up a lot more to trade for Ben Simmons. I could see like LeBron and the Lakers wanting to get him, or the Miami Heat or something.
Anybody but us.
Yes. So while Kendrick Perkins is throwing these names out there, and it could make a lot of sense to other people, for us Timberwolves fans, like we just want nothing to do with that. I mean, just keep building around the core you have now.
Exactly.
Keep adding pieces around them, and let the chips fall where they may, but don't force something with Ben Simmons.
Exactly. Let these guys get some run. Let them play together a little bit. We kind of got a taste of it at the end of this last season, and honestly, it looked pretty decent.
Yes.
You don't think it would get better over this offseason with Finch getting these few months to really work with the guys, and then going to next year fresh. And obviously, it's really hinging on everybody staying on the court, staying out of off the court issues or getting hurt and whatnot. So I think you just got to trust these guys a little bit longer. We can't just keep turning this roster over again and again and again. Otherwise, you're never going to have success. So that's all I have to say about this Ben Simmons conversation.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It upsets me when Kendrick Perkins comes out and he's like, "Oh yeah, let's just ship Ben Simmons off to the Timberwolves." Yeah,
he's just looking for hot takes and
clickbait.
Clickbait basically.
Yes, exactly. So. We'll definitely revisit this once we get closer
for sure
to the NBA season, or maybe when Ben Simmons gets traded sooner rather than later.
Right.
So that's all I got to say. You have anything else to add?
I don't think so. Yeah, it would just be an absolute mistake for the Wolves to do that, and it would set them back.
All right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But that's going to do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram. And feel free to comment if you like Ben Simmons or not, if you dislike him as much as I do, or maybe you have a different opinion. Feel free to share it with us. We love to interact with you guys. And